Came for a car wash. 3 gorgeous alien workers wanted my heart instead. The breakdown. The mountain road stretched endlessly before Ethan Cross as his truck sputtered, coughed, and died with one final shudder. He coasted to the shoulder, sighing as rain began to tap against the windshield. Typical. Another late night returning from a client meeting, another mechanical failure in the middle of nowhere. His phone showed no signal. Naturally. Grabbing his jacket, Ethan stepped into the drizzle and popped the hood. Smoke wisped upward. He knew enough about engines to recognize a serious problem, but not enough to fix whatever this was. The nearest town was 15 miles back. Then he saw it, a warm glow through the trees, just off the main road. He could swear that wasn't there this morning when he'd driven past. Curiosity overriding caution, he followed a narrow path until a building emerged from the mist. A large workshop with sleek, oddly modern architecture that seemed out of place in these rustic mountains. The sign read Stellar Mechanics in letters that shimmered with an inner light. The bay door stood open. Inside, 3 women worked around a vehicle that looked nothing like any car he'd ever seen, all curves and glowing panels. They turned as he approached, and Ethan's breath caught. The first had skin like twilight itself, deep violet with an iridescent shimmer. Her golden eyes met his with intelligence and curiosity. Indigo hair with metallic streaks fell past her shoulders, and her graceful features held an otherworldly beauty. "Can we help you?" she asked, her voice melodic. "My truck broke down," Ethan managed, suddenly feeling foolish in his rain-soaked jacket. The second woman bounded over with infectious energy. Her copper-toned skin bore intricate turquoise patterns that seemed to pulse with faint light. Rose-gold eyes sparkled with mischief, and her crimson hair with white tips was cut in a playful, asymmetric style. "A rescue mission. I love rescue missions," she grinned. "I'm Rhea. That's Solara, and the quiet one is Nera." The third woman approached with measured grace. Her skin was soft azure, emanating a gentle glow. Silver eyes regarded him with calm warmth, and her snow-white hair cascaded in elegant waves. Delicate ridge patterns decorated her temples. "Where is your vehicle?" Nera asked softly. "Just up the road. But, are you open?" "It's late." Solara exchanged glances with the others. "We keep unusual hours. We'll take a look." Something in their movements seemed too fluid, too perfect. But Ethan was cold, wet, and desperate. "I'd really appreciate it," he said. What he didn't know was that his simple request had just set 4 hearts on an unexpected collision course. The resonance effect. Ethan rode with Rhea in their tow vehicle, another sleek machine that hummed rather than rumbled. She chatted enthusiastically about engines and power systems, using terms he'd never heard. Within 20 minutes, his truck sat in their workshop bay, and all 3 women circled it like surgeons around a patient. "The fuel injection system is completely fried," Solara announced, her fingers trailing over the engine with surprising tenderness. "And your alternator is dying." "How long to fix?" Ethan asked, dreading the answer. "We can have it ready by morning," Nera said softly. "You're welcome to wait in our office. There's coffee." "Morning? That's impossible." "We're very good at what we do," Rhea winked, already diving under the hood. Ethan settled into the surprisingly comfortable office, watching through the window as they worked. Their efficiency was mesmerizing. Tools seemed to appear in their hands exactly when needed. They moved in perfect synchronization, anticipating each other's actions. But something else was happening. Every time one of them came close to ask his opinion or show him a part, Ethan felt a strange warmth bloom in his chest. When Solara leaned over to point out the damaged components, her shoulder brushed his, and electricity seemed to dance across his skin. "Are you all right?" she asked, her golden eyes widening slightly. "You feel different." "I'm fine," he lied, though his heart was racing. Rhea bounded over with drinks, her hand grazing his as she passed him a cup. The turquoise patterns on her skin flickered brighter for just a moment. She blinked, startled. "That's weird." "What is?" Ethan asked. "Nothing," she said quickly, but her rose-gold eyes lingered on him with new interest. As midnight approached, Nera invited him to share their meal, strange but delicious food that tasted like nothing from Earth. They sat together in the office, and conversation flowed surprisingly easily. Ethan found himself laughing at Rhea's stories, captivated by Solara's insights about design and structure, soothed by Neera's gentle wisdom. "You're different from the locals we've met," Solara observed, studying him over her cup. "Calmer. More open." "I spend a lot of time alone," Ethan admitted. "Work keeps me busy." "Too busy," Neera said softly, her silver eyes seeing more than he wanted to reveal. "You're lonely." The word hit harder than expected. "Maybe," he conceded. Rhea reached across and squeezed his hand impulsively. "Well, you're not alone tonight." The moment her skin touched his, something remarkable happened. The turquoise patterns on her arms blazed bright, and she gasped. Simultaneously, Solara's violet skin shimmered intensely, and Neera's azure glow strengthened until the room was bathed in soft light. All three women stared at him with expressions mixing wonder and alarm. "What's happening?" Ethan asked, feeling the warmth in his chest expand into something profound and overwhelming. Solara stood abruptly, her hands trembling. "We need to talk. All of us." The confession. The rain had stopped, leaving the mountain air crisp and clean. Ethan followed the three women outside, where their mysterious ship sat partially concealed behind the workshop. Up close, it was breathtaking, organic curves covered in panels that pulsed with soft light. "We're not from around here," Rhea began, stating the obvious with a nervous laugh. "I'd figured that out," Ethan said quietly. "Where are you from?" "Valana Prime," Neera answered, her voice gentle but serious. "A world very far from yours. We crashed 3 weeks ago while charting dimensional pathways. We've been repairing our ship and trying to stay hidden." "The repair shop is just a cover," Solara continued, her golden eyes never leaving his face. "We needed local resources and currency. But something's happened tonight that we didn't anticipate." "What?" Ethan's pulse quickened. Neera stepped closer, and in the moonlight, her azure glow seemed ethereal. "Our people have a unique biology. We evolved alongside technology that reads emotional resonance, the harmony between hearts. It requires deep empathic connections to function. Some Valanans develop bioresonance fields," Rhea added, her usual playfulness subdued. "They react to compatible emotional signatures. When we find someone whose heart frequency matches ours, the fields synchronize. It's incredibly rare." "And the three of you?" Ethan asked, though he already knew. "Are experiencing full resonance with you," Solara finished. "The glow you saw, that was our bodies recognizing what our hearts were already feeling. You're compatible with all three of us simultaneously, which is almost unheard of, even on our world." Ethan's mind reeled. "What does that mean, exactly?" "It means we're drawn to you," Neera said softly, moving to stand beside him. "Not just attraction, though that's certainly there. It's deeper. Like our hearts recognize yours as someone they've been searching for." "This is crazy," Ethan breathed, but even as he said it, he knew it felt right. The connection he'd felt, the inexplicable pull, it made sense now. "We understand if you want to leave," Solara said, though pain flickered in her eyes. "We'll finish your truck, and you can go. We won't bother you again." "Do you want me to leave?" he asked. "No," all three answered simultaneously. Rhea laughed shakily. "See? We're even synchronizing our responses now. That's the resonance effect." Ethan looked at each of them, Solara's strength and intelligence, Rhea's joy and energy, Neera's wisdom and serenity. In one evening, they'd awakened something in him he'd thought was dead, hope. "My truck can wait," he said firmly. "Tell me about your ship. What do you need to repair it?" The threat. 2 weeks transformed Ethan's life completely. His days became filled with purpose beyond architectural drafts and empty evenings. He brought supplies, used his engineering knowledge to help with calculations, and learned about Valanan technology that made Earth science seem primitive. But more than that, he fell deeper into something beautiful and terrifying. Solara taught him about dimensional mechanics during long evening sessions, her violet fingers tracing diagrams while pressed close beside him. Sometimes explanations dissolved into comfortable silence, her head resting on his shoulder, his arm around her waist. One night, as stars emerged above the workshop, she turned to him with those golden eyes and whispered, "I've never felt this before. Not on any world." He'd kissed her then, slow and tender, feeling her shimmer against him like captured starlight. Rhea made every repair session an adventure, her laughter echoing through the workshop. She'd deliberately brush against him, steal tools from his hands just to make him chase her, turn serious moments into playful ones. But in quiet instances, she'd curl against his side, her copper skin warm, her rose-gold eyes vulnerable. "Promise you won't disappear when we're fixed," she'd murmured against his neck, and he'd held her tighter, promising everything. Nearer was the anchor, steady and profound. She prepared meals that tasted like comfort itself, created spaces where they could all simply be together. When stress mounted, her cool azure hand would find his, her glow calming his racing heart. One evening, she'd cupped his face with both hands, silver eyes searching his. "You've given us more than help, Ethan. You've given us home." Their kiss had been gentle but absolute, sealing something sacred. The four of them created a rhythm, working, eating, talking deep into mountain nights. Ethan had never imagined love could feel this complete, this right, even in its unconventional form. Then everything shattered. Government vehicles surrounded the workshop at dawn. Ethan was inside reviewing schematics with Solara when the loudspeakers crackled to life. "This is Homeland Security. We've detected unauthorized energy signatures. Exit the building with your hands visible." Rhea swore colorfully in Valanan. Neera's glow intensified with worry. Solara's expression hardened as she pulled up security feeds showing armed agents taking positions. "They found us," she said grimly. "The ship's power core must have leaked a signature." "What will they do?" Ethan demanded. "Best case? Quarantine and study. Worst case?" Neera's voice trembled. "Dissection. Imprisonment." Something fierce and protective roared to life in Ethan's chest. These women had become his everything, his purpose, his joy, his future. He wouldn't let them be taken. "I have connections," he said quickly. "Senator Morrison, I designed his mountain retreat. He owes me favors." "Ethan, no," Solara grabbed his arm. "You'll implicate yourself." "I don't care." He was already dialing. "You're not facing this alone." The next hours were chaos. Ethan made calls while the women activated defensive shields around the workshop, buying time. He pulled every string, called in every favor, spun a story about experimental clean energy consultants he'd hired, complete with fabricated credentials he hastily coded into government databases using skills he'd nearly forgotten. When agents tried to breach the shields, Rhea's technology sent harmless but dramatic energy pulses that made them retreat. When they threatened force, Ethan walked out alone, positioning himself between the women and danger. "They're under my protection," he declared, voice steady despite his racing heart. "And I have Senator Morrison on speed dial confirming their legitimacy." The standoff lasted until sunset. Finally, with verification of Ethan's hastily constructed cover story and pressure from political channels, the agents withdrew with warnings and promises of future inspections. Inside the workshop, Ethan collapsed against the wall, adrenaline fading. 3 pairs of arms immediately surrounded him. "You risked everything," Neera whispered, her glow warming him. "You could have been arrested," Solara added, her voice thick with emotion. "You incredible, stupid, wonderful man," Rhea laughed through tears, peppering his face with kisses. Ethan pulled all 3 closer, his heart so full it ached. "You're worth any risk. All of you." In that moment, surrounded by their combined light, he knew with absolute certainty that he'd found what he'd been missing his entire life. The choice. The ship was ready. 3 weeks of work, countless hours, and one heart-stopping government intervention later, the Valanan craft hummed with full power. Ethan stood in the workshop, watching indicator lights pulse in sequence, and felt his heart breaking. "Beautiful work," he managed, voice rough. Solara stood beside him, her violet skin shimmering in the ship's glow. She'd been quiet all morning. "Yes. It is. When will you leave?" The question hung heavy. Rhea stopped her pre-flight check, her usual energy dimmed. Neera emerged from the ship's interior, silver eyes already glistening. "There's something we need to discuss," Solara said carefully. "All of us." They gathered in the office one last time, the space that had become their sanctuary. Rain pattered against the windows, fitting, Ethan thought, for goodbye. "Valana Prime is home," Neera began softly. "Our families are there. Our lives, our work, everything we've known." Ethan nodded, throat tight. "I understand." "But," Rhea interrupted fiercely, grabbing his hand, "home isn't a place. We've learned that. Home is where your heart lives. The resonance we share with you isn't just biological," Solara continued, moving to his other side. "It revealed something true. We love you, Ethan. Deeply. Completely. All three of us. And we have to choose," Neera finished, taking his face in her cool hands. "Return to the life we knew, or stay for the life we want." "You can't stay," Ethan protested, even as hope flared painfully. "Your world, your families can visit through the dimensional pathways," Solara cut him off. "We've already sent messages. Our families understand. They know what resonance bonding means." "We're choosing you," Rhea said simply, her rose-gold eyes blazing with certainty. "If you'll have us." Ethan looked at each of them, these extraordinary women who'd crashed into his lonely life and filled it with light, laughter, and love beyond measure. His careful, solitary existence seemed colorless compared to the vivid future they offered. "I love you," he said, voice breaking. "All of you. So much it terrifies me." "Then be terrified with us," Neera whispered, and kissed him. It became a tangle of embraces, tears mixing with laughter, promises whispered and sealed with touches. Solara's shimmer intensified, Rhea's patterns blazed brilliant turquoise, and Neera's glow turned the office into something magical. When they finally pulled apart, Ethan asked, "What about the ship?" "We'll keep it," Solara grinned. "Create a legitimate research station. Study dimensional mechanics. Maybe help other stranded travelers. And run the best repair shop in 3-star systems," Rhea added with her infectious laugh. "Together," Neera said softly, her hand finding Ethan's. "Always together." 6 months later, Stellar Mechanics had become a landmark. Locals whispered about the miracle repairs and the mysterious but friendly owners. Ethan had moved into the expanded workshop-turned-home, his architecture practice now focused on designing dimensional research facilities. Every evening, he'd return to 3 women whose skin would glow brighter the moment he walked through the door. They'd share meals, work on projects, curl together under mountain stars, and marvel at the impossible love they'd built. One night, wrapped in their combined warmth, Ethan whispered, "I only came because my truck broke down." "Best breakdown ever," Rhea murmured sleepily. Solara kissed his temple. "The universe has strange ways of fixing what's truly broken." "Your truck needed repair," Neera added softly, her azure glow pulsing in time with his heartbeat. "But so did your heart. We fixed both." And in that perfect moment, surrounded by love that transcended worlds, Ethan knew she was absolutely right. Lessons from the stars. Love recognizes no boundaries, not of worlds, nor conventions, nor the limits we place on our own hearts. The greatest repairs are not to machines, but to the lonely spaces within us that yearn for connection. Sometimes being broken down in the middle of nowhere is exactly where you need to be to find everything. True home is not a place you return to, but the hearts that choose to stay with yours, no matter the distance they must travel.